She's married to a guy that worshipped the ground she walked on. A nice guy, Al Kaplan. He was really one of the nicest guys you want to know. And she decides to divorce him. The reason she gave is the mother. See, he was an only son, and the mother was a widow. She didn't like the mother, or the mother this, the mother that. Bullshit, she's not married to the mother. You're married to the son, and you don't divorce her because of the mother. But when it comes to money, my sister Bertha, for some damn reason, was all there. Money. And I'm quite sure that she said, well, you know, if you think that this is what you want, you know, go ahead and do it. And she divorced Al. Another story is, when my father came up to visit me at Rock Hill, he came up a few times. He'd take the bus up and I'd pick him up. At the corner there, 17, so on. And while we're walking around, sort of, while we're up there, my father says to me, by the way, where we live is a two-family house, brick, semi-detached. There's two houses attached together. They each had their own entrance and everything. And this house had 3 garages with 2 apartments, upstairs, 1 downstairs. And the landlord was an Irish woman, McGann. Her husband worked for Holy Cross Church. They had a cemetery, and he worked for the cemetery, walking distance from our house on 34th Street at Church Avenue. So my father tells me that she wanted to move a little closer to the church. Frankly, I think there were too many Jews around. She wasn't anti-Semitic, but she was a very strong Catholic. And she says to my father, I want $8,500 for the house. For you, $8,000. All I had to do was sign my name. GI Bill.
Right.
We get the mortgage, pay it out as rent. We have an apartment, you rent it, that pays the mortgage. 3 garages, which today, 1 garage brings in more rent than the apartment and the garages. But I'm positive that my father went to Bertha again, and he told her. And she said, oh no, 8,000, what is it? Going to get a mortgage and then. But her motive wasn't anything other than she would lose esteem. If I was to own a house, I was sort of, and she rented an apartment, no, don't buy it.
Yeah.
And when it came to my sister, money, yeah. I'm only guessing at this one, I'm positive it is so. And my father at the house again, he would have a nice 2-family house with an income and all. Oh no, whatever reason she gave, my father decided not to buy it. That house today is probably worth over $300,000 for 2 apartments and 3 garages. You get over $100 a month for each garage. Much more than that, I think. And they're paying for it. Because the guy that bought it, an Italian guy, had a couple of daughters, teenagers. It didn't take long. Says to my father, my daughter's getting married, I want the apartment, move.
Right.
So he moved, and he moved to 34th Street. He found an apartment for almost double the rent, which at that time wasn't much. $75 was a lot. $75.
Your niece was asking Alissa if she knew her grandfather very much, and
I said I did.
Alissa told her that she went on the internet and she found a certificate of him on the boat to Lufthansa.
Did you tell her about
The certificate.
the island?
Yes, Ellis Island and everything.
Ellis Island, that you did that?
Yep.
Oh, the wall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told her about the certificate.
I heard
or
Ellis
whatever.
Island just opened back up again. Something I'd love to
I
go
never
down
knew
there
it was
and-
shut.
Yeah. Take a picture of the wall, because Grandpa's name,
Well,
your mother, and also Aaron Zellman and Rose Zellman. It's like the Vietnam Memorial where they have a
Yeah.
wall and they got all the
They have the
names carved
names
in.
now on it.
Yeah, the names are carved in the wall there forever. You can take a picture of it or make a paper rubbing of it.
now, my brother Sidney was independent.
He was a good guy. I remember him vaguely, but what I
He was
remember is that he was
A very
happy,
nice guy. You couldn't ask for
nice,
a more honest,
fun.
will do anything for you that he
Lovable.
could. There's one thing true is he wasn't a great worker. Because when he was growing up, my father had a business and all, and my father tried to get him in and all to help. My father had deliveries to make, make them and so on. And he told me once, my father, he goes out with the truck once and he doesn't come back. My father goes looking for him. He finds him playing poker. You heard what my cousin Mike, I don't know if you remember Mike Horowitz, Maya Horowitz, I don't know if you remember him.
Vaguely.
He came up to Rock Hill and spent a week once after the season was still open. I had the middle bungalow open. He had one son.
Funny.
Anyway, there was an affair out at Leonard's, out on the island, and I don't know whose bar mitzvah. It was either my brother Fred or B's son. Jesse was having no, he had it in Singers. It must have been my brother's son that had a bar mitzvah. And we were there, and Mike was invited. He came up from Philadelphia and all. Again, the word for the affair, you call it a... Well, you eat and all that crap.
Reception.
Reception, whatever. So I said to him, oh, by the way, my brother Sidney, believe it or not, he's considered a veteran of World War I. And World War I was 85 years ago. So the war was over, 1917, and when I don't know what happened, but something happened, and he went to join the army. And when he went there, he didn't have a birth certificate, but they were so eager to sign him up, by the way, that was it. They said to him, he was only 16. He said, how old are you? He said, I'm 21.
Okay.
So he says, I was born in Russia, my father came here when I was a baby, and he was the oldest, so he was pretty old. And they signed him up, and he was in the army, and the peace hadn't been officially declared yet. We were still in a state of armistice, so he's considered to be, you ever hear the bonus marches in Washington when they went there?
They wanted their bonus money.
He was one of the bonus marches.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
Of course, these are World War I veterans that were promised a bonus for like in 1988, and they said, we need it now, there's a depression, we want it. They eventually drove him out. MacArthur was then the head of the army, and Hoover told him, get him out of here. And they chased him out, burned down all their tents and shacks and everything.
They built the Insurrection City, or Resurrection City.
Well, I don't know what they called it.
Yeah.
But he wanted to retire from whatever he was doing. He used to drive a cab mostly. So he went to Social Security, and he said, I don't have a birth certificate. He says, I was born in Russia, but I was in the army, and here's my discharge, and they have him down for 1916, to the age of 21 when he signed, when he was 5 years younger. So he was only 57. You could go into Social Security at 62. Well, he's 57, but according to his discharge and all, he's 60. He's 5 years older.
Right.
So he gave him Social Security. That's what he told me. He says, I'm probably the only guy that screwed Social Security. So I told Meyer that. Mike, I says, Mike, Sidney retired.
Yeah.
So, 2 words he says to me, from what?
Technique.
Yeah, really. Hi there.
In any event, he was always on the outs of the family because he wouldn't knuckle under to Bertha, and Bertha somehow ruled it, and he was on the outs. The other, my sister Doris, may she rest in peace, the one that they butchered, she was an abscess ovary. They didn't clean it up. For a year she complained of pain, eventually died of septicemia. Nobody sued or anything. My sister Jane married. Oh, they were welcomed into the light, but him, stay where you are.
She was telling us, Mrs. Aunt, that one of the sisters is not doing too well. She has a heart
Yes,
Val.
Jane,
Yeah.
evidently.
That's who I was gonna say.
And she's no youngster. My next one older than me is my sister Sylvia, and then older than her. But see, my mother had a kid every 2 years, so she's close to 90,
Yeah.
and it's quite a burden for her to take care of Sylvia.
Mhm.
I called her when Susie got her house right next to her. It was a beautiful house, 2 bedrooms. We could have gotten it, I'm sure, for 120. They wanted 125 or something. And I called her and I said, look, come up here. There's a nice house. I'll buy it. And all. They don't want to leave Brooklyn. I can't understand it. Living in a totally black neighborhood tells me how lousy the kids are and the neighbors are and all.
But it's home. They
To
have
get
their
back to my
store.
wonderful, I forget that there's a French term that says, don't speak, or is it Latin? Don't speak badly of the dead and all. But she hurt me too much, my sister. Again, she ruined Fred's life. When my father died, that was before, no, let me see. Well, she had a house up here, yeah, by that time. But why didn't she say to my sister, look, you're still young. My father died almost 30 years ago, 73. And it's 1 year from 73.
Well, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
So she said, I'll take care of Papa. You make a life for yourself, whatever. She continued until my father died. She took care of my father, Sylvia.
Hi, Alice.
Are you laughing or crying? A little
Both
bit
at the
of
same time.
Yeah. Does she always do this?
No. But my father eventually married. He couldn't run a business and take care of a house with 5 kids or 6 kids, whatever. So pretty soon, somehow they made it arrest somebody. They called him, like that play they had. Oh, I got a wife for you, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was this woman, an attractive woman, widow, had 2 sons. And I guess my father met her and all, and he was a virile guy. And they got married. And I remember we lived in Williamsburg, and the 2 sons, Bob and Irving. Bob is Bob Polanski, Bob Pollan, who's Tracy Pollan's grandfather. I always heard stories about this woman from my sister. Oh, she was no good. She used to hide food. She only took care of her sons. And I wasn't totally aware. Oh, she used to be very nice to me. I was very young at the time. Years before I was even bar mitzvah. I was 8, 9 years old, or 7 years old, I don't know.
So you
And she
remember
went in
her?
and she told my father the same stories, and my father ended up divorcing her. What
How
the
old
hell?
were you when he divorced her?
All right, let me see. My father was,
How old was it, girl?
trying to figure how old he was. He was 35 when I was born. I'm sure he wasn't 40. He was in his late 30s. And that's a hell of a thing to live without a woman in your 30s. And she was so poor and all, she couldn't take care. They had my sister B and Fred. I never referred to them as half-sister, half-brother. Always they're my sister and brother, same as any other sister and brother. Except they had a different mother. And she died not too long ago, after my father did.
And Beatty, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, my father, in talking to him once, he said, maybe I said to him, Pa, why did you get a divorce? I was mature then, I guess he could talk to me, and he said, oh, she didn't take care of the kids the way she should have, she only this, she only that. And it wasn't until I started to teach school, and I began to have a bunch of kids,
Mhm.
and I got to meet some of the parents, that I understood the phrase, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Because if a kid was a pain in the ass and I spoke to the parents or met with the parents, I could see why the kids were what the hell they were.
Right.
And if the kid was a nice kid and I met the parents, they were a delight. They were nice parents. So here's Bob and Irving, two of the nicest guys, really, that you'd want to meet. They were so nice, gentlemen, good. And I'm saying to myself, something's wrong with the story I heard. If she was supposed to be mean and rotten and this and that, why are her kids so nice?
Right.
Her kids would have been grubby and this and that and demanding and
Right.
everything. What I says, this is my sister Bertha's doing. She wanted to be the boss, and of course she couldn't be because Sophie, what was her name, was my father's wife, and it was her place now to run the family. And I can tell you, my sister made life miserable for me, because I wasn't the best kid in school. Without a mother and all, I looked to get attention, I acted up in class, and she used to sign a report card, and oh my God, the worst thing in the world is to bring her my report card. She wasn't about smacking me around too, calling me names. So, my father suffered all his life because he didn't have a woman. My sisters, when my sister had the abscess, she finds the hospital for her to go to, a little shit place on a side street. When Kings County was walking distance, one of the finest hospitals. Brodsky, when he was in Chicago Medical School, where they asked him, where do you want to intern? Says a lot of the guys wanted Kings County or Bellevue because they had a reputation for being great hospitals. If she'd gone there, I guess she'd be alive today.
Yeah, of course.
But she took her there. They did a lousy job on the surgery. And then she lived with my sister, and she walked on an invalid for a year. The goddamn doctor sent the psychiatrist to the house. And he said, look, it's all in your head. You're imagining it hurts you.
Right,
Can you imagine?
right, yeah. So you know what I learned from this whole story about Aunt Bertha? Is not to let bad people rule my life. To push bad people out of my life and conduct my life the way I want. That's what I'm learning from this. To recognize people who have agendas and not to let them interfere with me because they have insecurities or problems with having to control me.
If you know what you're doing, if you make mistakes, then somebody should talk to you.
But it seemed
that has more experience.
Bertha's reasons were all the wrong reasons.
That's right. Her reasons were, how will this affect me?
Right. Not what's really good for the person.
That's right. Not like me, when my kids wanted to do something. Well, see, you seem to think that I was an ogre. Somehow you said, oh, I couldn't do this, or I want to do that, or whatever.
I had a lot of freedom when I was growing up.
Well, not from what I hear, what you told Susie or whatever.
Oh, you gonna believe what Susie tells you about me? Please. I used to look at all my friends and think how much freedom I had. I never had to ask you, can I go to Fran's house, Barbara's house? I made up my own mind. I used to make my own dates to go babysitting.
Only hope that you were brought up right and knew what you were doing and knew what your responsibility is and so on.
My friends used to have schedules where they had to do chores and they couldn't leave the house unless their bed was made. I had none of that crap. I loved growing up.
That's why I wanted to ask you, what kind of a father was I?
You were a great father.
Well, maybe I never wanted to say this, and I never want you to repeat this. But where you're sitting with Brother David was, and you too, Kenny, please don't ever say this.
I won't repeat it.
It's something that I'm loving with. It's a butter in the saddle. I can't believe it. And we were talking about him getting a house and all that and financing it. And he suddenly comes out with, "You were a lousy father for 40 years."
Wow.
I heard that. I swear my heart must have stopped.
Oh, that's a terrible thing to hear.
From your own child.
Oh, my.
I didn't say anything.
Right.
We continued with whatever, and I still got his house financed there.
That's heartbreaking. You know what I was thinking? Very recently, I think in the past 2 years, one day I was thinking about, since I moved through Rock Hill, the man across the street has 3 daughters. Back in Davie, Mr. Hyder, Rebecca, Rachel's friend Rebecca's father, 3 daughters. I'm thinking, I bet they had that 3rd kid hoping it would be a boy. And then all of a sudden one day I said, I bet when my father, you, found out that Mommy was pregnant for the 3rd time, you wanted a boy. You must have wanted a son.
You want to know something? The honest
You
truth?
didn't care?
I didn't care.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you
So
got her.
anyway, what I was
The
gonna
first
say.
one, I wanted a son.
Yeah,
I got the name now going on, Gorowski, whatever.
yeah,
Okay, after that, I wouldn't care. Like my father had 5 girls in a row.
uh-huh,
Then I was conceived.
right.
My mother was conceived with me.
I was just thinking, since David wasn't very mechanically inclined, he was kind of klutzy, maybe you wanted a son, maybe this one would be the...
You know, David is mechanical, but he's lazy.
But what I was thinking is, if that's what you wanted, you got me. I am like the son you always wanted.
I feel maybe I thought that also a few times.
She always says that because she's very mechanically inclined. She likes to build things. She likes to use
I'm
these
the
saws.
science, I like
so
science.
she goes, I'm this way because my father always wanted a son for the 3rd one, and I just became that. That's her reason for being
Well,
mechanically inclined
I
and
was
interested.
tomboyish.
She always blames you for that.
Hello.
Well,
How you doing, pretty lady?
David was going to come up from, he and Miriam lived near Washington. And he was supposed to come up, and I get a call from him. My battery is dead all of a sudden, this and this. I told him, David, it's your alternator. You need an alternator. Let me tell you what you should do. And I explained precisely, there's a couple of electric wires that come in, you disconnect those. Then, if you look, you'll see that there's a belt that goes over it, a fan belt. Take that off, and there's 2 bolts on either end. You take them out, go to a store, an auto parts store, they'll give you another alternator. You reverse it. Put the 2 bolts in,
Right.
and put the belt on, put the 2 wire, and he did it, and he drove the car up.
He
You
can
know,
fix my car now.
Besides Alyssa, you have another admirer. You know who that is, right?
Not
Yes.
particularly.
Think carefully. Someone who says he loves you more than anyone in his family.
Oh, bull crap. Brian?
Yes.
The nephew kid.
I'm not lying, Murry.
Yeah, he
He
does.
tells me on the phone he loves me. I said, yeah, okay.
He doesn't lie, Brian. He says, I only have one relative.
No,
One thing
like
I
you.
told my kids,
He
don't
says,
lie.
he says to everyone that if you don't like the way I am, it's because I'm just like my grandfather. I'm just like Murray. That's what he says to
Maybe in
everyone.
some ways, maybe he's a little stubborn
He
too.
is very stubborn, but he blames it on being like you. He goes, that's the only one who will understand me. That's why he felt so terrible when he was in a fight with you. He says, even the person I most love doesn't love me.
Did I ever tell you not to lie, or did you learn, or maybe you lie, I don't know.
No, she
Why?
doesn't tell
I'm not a
you.
liar.
That's one thing I told you. I'm sure, because I said, if anything ever comes up, and I ask you what happened, I want the truth. Because if you lie, and I know you lie, then I won't, I don't know if I'd be willing to,
Can't trust you.
I can't trust you in essence. So don't ever lie to me. And I told Susie, I think you were a little too young to date. When she started getting up, I said, Susie, if you ever go out, and if you ever have a problem with a boy you're going out with, get out of the car, go to the nearest phone and call me. I don't care where you are, I'll come and pick you up. Remember.
Did she ever call you?
No. She never went out. That's a joke.
That's a good ending.
That's funny.
Did you have to shine this in my eyes?
Well, we can't see you. It's dark.
Doesn't matter.
Actually, I put that on to read this, but I'll sit over here.
Yeah, I saved it because of that. I'll put the heat on, so when I was
Which
working in
it's
the
hot,
basement,
it's
I
warm,
put the
it's not cold,
stove.
Yeah, we're
it's not
warm.
cold at all.
Yeah.
It's good. As a matter of fact, it's a beautiful day.
There.
I have some things I want to
No,
show you
I'm not
today.
cold.
No, I brought you this.
It's a
a
shirt.
present.
Oh,
Did we once lose a
Look.
shirt of yours?
thank
It's,
you.
it's warm.
It's insulated, but
Kenny bought one. I liked
Here.
it so much I got you one.
feel it.
But it's, you can wear it in the house. It's not really a
Well,
jacket.
it's nice. It's something I would wear, something I would wear because I'm always grabbing something, and I like a heavy thing when I'm in a car.
Hi, Elsa
Oh, put
smile.
this on your back.
But
Whenever you want to see some stuff, I've got it all set
yeah,
up.
it'll be
So
later.
just let me know. It's all ready.
What do you
Hi,
like?
hi, Elsa. She's happy we're here. She misses the paintings that I used to do with her, remember? We used to go 1, 2, 3.
And
Oh.
one of the reasons I lay her down,
Oh, poor baby. She looks so pretty though. Look at her hair.
today I remembered to comb it.
Oh, yes. We bought you chicken and all sorts of good food. You're going to have a good time tonight. We're going to have a party, okay? A Hanukkah party tonight. Elsa just wants to be part of the conversation, right? Yeah, it was very interesting funeral. I haven't been to many, but that was a very shocking one.
It was really very shocking to me because I remember when he was born, when he had his bris,
Yeah,
I was 16
yeah.
years old.
Boy, the lady said that he just was drinking. I can't imagine him doing that. I mean, knowing him as the teacher I knew of, it's I guess people
No, he
just go
didn't, he
through
never
things.
drank.
No, he was such a serious teacher.
Oh.
You know, he was my teacher. I had him. I had him
Really?
here. Yeah, I had him.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he was a teacher of mine, and
Who was
I
your
liked him
science
very much.
teachers there, do you remember?
Heitman I had, and I liked him. I loved
Yeah.
him. He was
Wanna know
great. What a
something?
great guy.
I was a teacher.
But he was a nice man.
He was.
He was a good man.
He was a nice,
good-
really
yeah.
nice guy.
And you know what? But he didn't have to be a good teacher. He was a good guy, and that leaves an impression.
You know that he's a native? He went to Spring Valley High School. He
Yeah.
owned-
Is he still alive? Is he still?
I really don't know. After I retired, I heard he wasn't feeling well, and I went to visit him.
We saw him at Hillcrest
He never.
years ago.
How long?
God, what must when we were living at Hillcrest? What,
Oh,
76?
that's 20 years.
75? 30 years ago.
He was a World War II also.
Yeah.
So that makes him. The other day was Pearl Harbor, December 7th. 60 years. I can't believe it. I was working in a shipyard up in Boston in my early 20s.
What's the matter, sweetie? She's talking. Look at that. I knew you could talk. It's Kenny. Yeah, I'm right here. That's who I am. I'm here with Alissa. One of your two favorite daughters.
What are you doing, Alyssa?
Nothing.
Oh, nothing. Sit down.
Eating with a big fat. Look at her. There's Alissa.
If you're hungry, you want something.
No,
I'll
we
put some-
bought so much stuff.
I
We
just
bought
took a few
chicken
bites
and-
of stuffing, just to tide me over.
We're gonna have like a big feast tonight.
I haven't eaten
Whenever
since
you're ready.
early.
I'll tell you, Susie went there at 12 o'clock and I told her 2 o'clock.
David's gonna come by, he said. He's gonna stop by, I think. Did he say so?
Yeah, he said he's gonna
So
stop
he's
by.
gonna stop by, because we're gonna be here to say hello to
Hello there.
us.
But she had a couple of hours to kill, so she came up here. And she left to go back there.
We saw her, but she wasn't too happy, or,
No.
she didn't say hello. I said hello to her. I said, hi, Susan.
Funerals are not the time to.
Now, I told you before, the conversation I had, the last one with your Aunt Bertha. And she had no kids to send to college. She had no grandchildren to spend money on. was just she and Fred. As a matter of fact, when she broke it up between Fred and the Driscoll girl, he showed up here once, you know, practically in tears. And he told me, this is when I heard the story about how she heard the Driscoll girl say to Fred, "Where's your mother going to live when we get married?" So he was besides himself. I said, "Look, I'll tell you what, Fred, if you don't feel you don't want to face your mother now, go to a motel and all." And he says, "I have no money." I said, "What do you do with your money?" He gives his check to his mother.
Huh.
Well, that's a nice guy. I hope Brian does that one day.
Well, if I can have 3 kids and send them to school and spend all the money you have to spend when you have a kid, you know you had kids, and manage to come out a so-called millionaire, what does my sister have? What does Fred have? With all this, and by the way, the most money I ever made was $30,000 after 20 some odd years. And 3 college degrees. You see, every time you got 15 college credits, you moved into a column further over on a pay schedule and you got more money. So I was way over and way at the bottom. I mean, I was the highest paid, 30, and I got $1,000+ for being a chairman. So it's really only 29 to 28,000 was the highest paid salary. Salaries jumped after that for teachers. Went up to $60,000, $70,000, and Fred was there a long time. I'm sure he was at the end of the salary scale.
He was the chairman too, right?
Yeah.
So he must have got the top pay.
I gave him some very good advice. That's how he became chairman. So, all this money, there must be, I wouldn't even think about, I couldn't say, because I don't know what my sister might have done. She wasn't a spendthrift. She didn't buy jewelry or what. As far as I know, her power was in having the money. She wanted money.
I think that that your niece is going to do some kind of investigation or something. What's going on?
Well, I thought it might be better if you did it somehow. Because there's a house that's worth, in the market today, probably anywhere from $200,000 to $250,000. It's on a nice secluded street. It's not a development and all. It's a fairly good plot that goes with it. I don't even know what kind of a car he has.
Yeah, but the thing is that these people are claiming to be his family and his wife. I mean,
Wouldn't it depend on whether he has a will or not?
That's right.
or if he has a marriage certificate.
Even if she is married, it doesn't mean, I think that even in law, she doesn't get a full 100% if he has other claims on him.
If he doesn't have a will.
I think even if there is a will, and he leaves his wife, I'm not sure.
If
See,
you have
that's
a
where you
will,
have to know the law.
I think they go pretty much by the letter of the will.
But how long
Unless
do you
there
have?
is some strange circumstance, like they really weren't married, or...
If he was going out with her while my sister was alive, your Aunt Bertha only passed away a few years ago.
Right.
And he would never have married her. And she lives in her own house somewhere. She doesn't live in his house.
Right.
So it looks very fishy somehow.
Questionable.
But I see that Bonnie is already looking to get into the act.
She's already in the act. She already told the guy. I heard her. I was walking behind her, and I heard her go up to the head of the chat.
That was really not the place to talk money.
No, it wasn't. But she went up to her and she said.
Alluded to it.
She said, well, this is what I heard. She walked up to her and she said, make sure no one touches a thing. I don't know what she was referring to, but I assumed.
He has no
Yeah.
control over
I was
anything.
assumed that, I don't know what, maybe his personal effects she didn't want them to have, or.
Well, I'm
I
sure
don't
that's
know.
way over $1 million.
Huh.
Hell, if I can amass all this money, and I didn't even half try, really. I didn't go to Wall Street or anything.
Right.
What if somebody should call up your niece and find out what she plans to do. I'm sure
Put a
that
salad?
your sisters and
Well,
them
you have an uncle that's a lawyer and all. If it goes through, you know,
contest
he would
it.
get paid and all of it. It wouldn't be free work.
Yeah, he could contest it.
It would have to be,
Alyssa would have to call him. You'd have to call and say in the name of your father.
How
or
do we
yours,
find out
you
if we
could
had a will
contest
or
it.
not?
You
How do
have
you
to,
find something like that
you have
out?
to call the chapel up and find out who's representing Freddie Tunis' estate.
I don't think they have anything to do with that,
no,
they
they
just do
don't.
funerals.
They're just, when she said to Susie that she was paying for the funeral, I said, when you talk to her, tell her that she'll be reimbursed. I would pay for it.
Who's paying for it?
Sally?
Oh,
I would pay for it. No, the woman that he,
Oh, Michelle, what's her name?
whatever her
Michelle?
name
Michelle.
is. Because she's the one that called my sister Jane, and Jane called me. And then I spoke to Susie, but she also called Susie and told her.
well, the way it was done at the ceremony, it appears that they officially stated, I don't know what that means anything.
They can say anything
but,
they
but
want.
what they said was,
Show me the
What
the
Michelle
money.
immediate
told them.
family was them. I think that these people are gonna do everything they can to, and it's probably, they're gonna try to expedite it as quickly as they
Oh, by the
can.
way, what did this woman look like? His wife?
Chubby,
Beautiful.
black lady,
She was very attractive.
pretty.
She was older, I'd say she was
Older.
about 50.
When
She
you
was
know
attractive.
Fred, when I stopped to
60.
think of it, Fred was up in his 60s,
Yeah, David said he
She
was
older,
66.
yeah.
later, older than that.
It's hard to tell with black people because they look young. They really do. 50, you know what? If I'm 44, she must have been about 60. What do you think?
I don't know. I think she was about 60.
Yeah,
She was
probably
about
around
60,
60.
65. She was an older woman.
She was attractive.
Yeah. I mean, if that really was his wife and they really were legit, then